Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the NXT 2.0 Pro Show powered by BodySlam.net. As you can see on our screens below, my name is the Jameus, and somebody's either happy or gotta pee. But right next to me, joining me doing the dancing moves, is Patrick Big Daddy Throwback. Patrick, how are you?
What's up, boss? How you doing?
I have my moments.
Oh, I mean, at
So
least
does this
one thing
show,
with
and whether there's good or bad moments, we're going to discuss.
well, let's just say this much. Just like my son, this freaking show was a shitter. and literally a baby could do that. That's why he's gonna get a onesie calling himself the diaper killer. I swear to God, I knew my hopes would have been dashed at some point. 3 weeks worth of good shows, 3 weeks of freaking good shows, and all of a sudden they decide to fucking poop it. They took a fucking shit, a massive freaking dump on this show. The only saving grace is the freaking Solo Sokoa showed up. That's
I
it.
disagree on the saving grace because I've got a lot to say about that banger of a tag team match that we saw.
It was okay, but the expectation and the hype was so high, it didn't for me reach
That's
it.
on you, pal.
Yeah, I know that's on me. It's always going to be like that.
So they did some really cool stuff in this spot. Sam's Pretty Deadly did a really cool silly string. Lewis Hawley took a nasty power bomb into the cage. Sam Stoker, I still can't remember their actual name. So they're Lewis Hawley and Sam Stoker. Yes, boy. And we'll get a side plate check eventually. So Sam Stoker in picture was using one of the Creed brothers back to climb to the door.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Did you catch that? That was a
Yeah,
really
that was
interesting way
interesting.
to use your opponent to try and escape the cage, using him more as like a balance beam than a opponent. There was a really
I,
cool Spanish fly spot with Stoker and Julius Creed as well. I thought the match was fun. They did some really cool stuff, very innovative. I liked the idea of Damon Kemp getting involved, but him not being the finish, and then building to the finish because of his involvement. I thought it let the match breathe a little more, and the finish came across much better on television. But of course, with this show every week, you know what I'm about to say, and you know what I'm about to rant about.
well, I gotta say, it's just that. Like,
2 weeks ago, this face, usually this smiling face, was not smiling because Joe Gacy cut a promo where they muted the sound, cut the sound altogether by design. Which, why is he cutting a promo if the whole point of the promo is for me to hear what he says? This isn't as bad, but I'm watching a wrestling match. I'm really invested in a wrestling match. I'm listening to the commentary. Commentary is conveying detail, nuance of the story that the match itself may not convey. It's an important aspect. The sights and sounds of wrestling to the crash of the mat. You know what I'm saying? Those are
yeah,
integral parts of professional wrestling. Crowd involvement is integral part of professional wrestling. That's why a lot of people tuned out when they couldn't hear the crowd during the pandemic era. Why are we muting a crowd? You're taking away from the commentaries doing their job. You're taking away from the wrestlers doing their job. And why even let fans in there if you're not going to let fans express themselves? It's a word. You can let Matt Riddle say it as much as he wants on Monday Night Raw, but you can't let a crowd chant. Common chant that's been around for 30 years in a match that's designed to get that kind of reaction. The match is designed to garner a holy shit reaction, and you're not letting them chant it. If I didn't have to watch this show for this, I would have tuned out right there because it ruined my enjoyment of the show. You're intentionally jeopardizing the production of your product for no valid reason, and it's a slap in the face to the performers, to the announcers, to the fans, and the people watching. There is zero reason for this, and it's a consistent issue. They did it during a Joe Gacy promo. They did it during the Santos Escobar Street fight. They did it tonight. That's a pattern. I don't get it. It makes me want to turn off the show. Doesn't matter how good Julius Creed is. Doesn't matter how good Sam Stoker is. And it doesn't matter how cool the spot that just did was. Why am I going to keep watching after that? If you're purposely trying to give me an aneurysm by cutting the sound in and out. There's no justification for this. Zero. Zilch. None. Nada.
It halts the momentum. It really does. It halts the full momentum of the show. It's like you hear them and then there's a slight pause and you're like, what are they saying? And you know what they're saying. It's just...
You can't hear what commentary is saying. You can't hear the bumps. If I wanted to mute wrestling match, I'd mute my damn television. There's a reason I don't mute my television. Because it's crucial to conveying the match and the story that the performers are trying to tell. Why is Julius Creed taking a superplex off the cage and doing this hard, difficult bump that's arduous to A, pull off safely, and B, hurts his body for you to mute the television? The whole point of the bump is so I can hear the bump. I hear it and I go, ooh, that hurt. Doesn't matter if I can't hear the bump. It's just another move.
At the end of the day, production needs to halt doing certain things like this because it doesn't help the story. It actually hinders it long term. It's ridiculous that they've been doing this more and more, but on the main roster, they don't do it.
And they're getting more open with cursing on the main roster.
Oh, the freaking leash is unhinged, literally.
Like, I don't get it. It makes zero sense. Make it make sense. I don't have the energy to do this every week. I barely have the energy to do it tonight. In fact, I don't have the energy to do it tonight. So stop making me do this rant. I'm sure the few people that listen to us every week are tired of hearing me nail home the same points every week. But when it's a consistent issue every week, how am I going to start to enjoy the product? Like, if your product's going to be bad, don't make your product worse.
It's the thing is that at the end of the day, what's going to end up happening is that people are going to turn the TV off. If you can't hear what's going on in the crowd chanting the way it's supposed to be, what the hell is the point of having it?
I just don't get it. I have watched wrestling religiously for 15 years. Never once took a break. I watch every weekly show of every company. I do an podcast where I have to talk about Joshi wrestling, where I have to talk about British wrestling and these scenes as up to date in the moment. So I watch all the historical stuff. I watch 15 hours of wrestling a day on an average day when I don't have other plans. I watch at least 60 to 80 hours wrestling a week. I am not the type of person, even if it's not good wrestling, to turn off professional wrestling. I am an editor at Body Slam, and I host a podcast on NXT, and I want to turn NXT off, not through what the performers are doing, but because production just wants to mute the mic, it's to the point where I want to turn the TV off. And if I want to turn the TV off, who has to watch NXT and watches that much wrestling, what are people who don't like wrestling nearly as much as me wanting to do with the television? They're not going to hesitate to change the channel. And it's a shame because that was a really good match tonight. And instead, I'm crapping all over it.
I'm just more upset about the momentum of the show. Just like you had 3 really good shows,
Yeah, we'll get to
and then
that.
it just shouldn't. It just yeah.
So after that was a Fallon Henley versus Last Legend, which did not help me get back in the show. No offense to those two ladies. What were your thoughts on this match? Because I ain't got much to say.
I honestly think the only thing that was great about the match, it gave both, people TV time and light on it, which is great. But I think what the most important thing is, and I took out of this whole match, wasn't a part of the match that was important. It was about Connor's care for Connor.
Yeah,
The cancer stuff that they had one of the kids out there for it and stuff. I mean, that was the most important thing. The match was secondary. It's just having that kid there to watch a match in NXT because he's a huge NXT fan. It goes a long way, and it shows how, how honest and pure it can be, that people can be real and caring and kind, even if they're at work doing and getting themselves hurt, just to have everybody else's minds taken off for a bit. We might bitch and complain and moan about it, but that kid is like fighting for his life.
right. So really good shout. I didn't have much to say about this match. Fallon and Henley defeated Last Legend. Brooks and Dixon were at ringside, yada, yada, yada. Backstage, Vincent tries to compliment Mandy Rose, and that led to a physical altercation between Mandy and Fallon Henley. I really hope that's not Mandy's next program. I would have circled back to Roxy, but we'll see how it plays out.
No, later on, yeah. Well, later on, we'll touch this that her next major challenger has already faced her as a different person, as a different talent name.
Kaylee
But
Ray.
yeah, but I mean, Elba Fire, now that they're going to bring more of the NXT UK talent over, I would like to say Jenny versus Mandy would be a great thing because that would be something different.
There was an update on Jenny today. I haven't read it yet. If you want me to go find it real quick.
Yeah.
So let's see, Jenny. It was a fight for selective port. One of her. Nobody grabbed it. Okay. So I have no idea what it says. Never mind. But hey, if you have fun for select, go to the retro review archives because I'm on there.
Same here. It was fun.
So next up, we have
Quincy Elliott.
Quincy Elliott made his debut against Sean Gallagher, defeating him rather easily. What were your thoughts on Quincy Elliott?
I like how somebody pointed out that it was like another version of Goldust. Someone else pointed out that it was like a DC comic character.
Mannerisms.
Yeah, it's like a DC comic character that meets Goldust kind of thing. It really. I wasn't really interested in it. Once I saw a few minutes of it, I was just. I already checked out. I'm sorry. I understand we have to talk about and cover it, but I don't think, starting from this point, that his development for this is not that starting.
I'm shooting from the hip here. If we only talked about things on NXT 2.0 that entertain the both of us, we'd have a 5-minute podcast every week.
Oh no shit! But I'm just saying that for like this character, it was literally just an introduction squash match. Let's just be real about this too. It almost felt like it was something out of like a 70s sci-fi movie kind of thing. And one person on Twitter said it reminded them like Static Shock met Goldust and ended up hanging out with each other. I have no clue. It's getting to the point where some of these character developments in these gears, you're shaking your heads. You're like, why? Why would you want to do that? And now it's like,
I understand they're trying to reach a certain demographic with characters such as this. I don't think it's executed well, and I don't think it's going to go over the way they think because it feels more of a caricature of the demographic they're trying to get instead of an actual heartfelt, here's representation. And if you're going to have representation, make a decent representation so that the representation matters.
it didn't do anything for me. It didn't even push the show narrative at all. It was just like, here's a debut. Here he's getting his opponent's getting squashed. 3-minute show. That's it.
His debut doesn't need to be more than that. But next, we have a match that did enhance the narrative they've been telling over a couple weeks. Cameron Grimes went at it solo against
Stacks
Tony
and
D'Angelo
D'Angelo.
and Stacks. So he starts to go solo. Here I was foolishly hoping his partner would be Andrew Everett. Independent wrestling deep cut for those who don't remember Trevor Lee's run on the Indies. But during the match, Joe Gacy, who's been trying to get Cameron Grimes to join the family in recent weeks, came out. I had a very momentary face turn. And when I say momentary, I mean it was the most fleeting, perfunctory, temporary, transient face turn you'll ever see. Because the moment they won and he wouldn't join them, Dyad attacked. Let's just say Cameron Grimes got grizzled by some young veterans.
God,
I'm sorry, that was a bad joke.
The match itself was okay. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that was a fun little match.
But the whole lead up to it, in the things with Grimes, it reminded me of, is Grimes going to be before what happened at the end, of them demolishing him afterwards? Is Grimes, what before that, was Grimes going to be Daniel Bryan of when he was with the Wyatt? Yes,
and then gets him in a cage and
then turns it around. We got that whole thing within about maybe a 15-minute match, and then afterwards a 5-second thing. It literally felt like you stuffed that whole Wyatt.
I feel like it could have let the storyline breathe more.
You could have had it for another couple of weeks and made it make sense and then do something about it. Now you're going to rush a match between Gacy, the Dyad, and Grimes is going to have to find 2 other people just before you're getting into it. It's like, what the hell? Like, how are you, like you said, makes sense. And the thing about it is that tonight, the only thing that made sense is the main event.
And I don't even like that, and we'll get to that when it happens. So from there, Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark wrestled Kiana James and Ariana Grace. Quick match. Not much to talk about. Lyons really didn't do anything in this match. There's no chemistry in this team with her and Zoe Stark, and you can't have a successful tag team without chemistry. So I'd like to see a little bit Lions do a lot more. No synergy there, no harmony. There was no real union between the two. Like, they're an alliance, but they're not unified. They're not doing anything. There's no tag team connection. And I feel like that's missing in translation. And I feel like that's coming across on TV in a negative connotation. So I would like to see somebody sit with them and fix this. Speaking of women on the show, Mandy Rose was confronted by Kaylee Ray. Pardon me, Alba Fire. So Mandy Rose couldn't put out the fire that is Kaylee Ray. And so my whole issue with the segment, I actually didn't mind the segment. I thought the segment was all done. My issue is she goes after Jane and Prisha Kelly with the bat, right? Or whatever was in her hand. She drops it when she starts going face to face with Mandy Rose. Why would you drop it? You can do damage with it.
No shit.
Like, what's the point in dropping it?
So while we're ranting and raving, let me save this. NXT has just released a new logo.
And it's black and gold.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
Now,
that's telling.
The move back to black and gold means nothing if you don't have a Sami Zayn or an Adrian Neville or Johnny Gargano on your roster. It wasn't, or you don't revert back to the booking philosophy that was black and gold before. You can change the presentation, but while the aura and the grunginess of the feel, there was a rawness of black and gold that really helped the production aspect of the show. Like, it made it feel like anything would happen. But unless you get quality wrestling, unless you get more consistent storytelling, unless you get actual characters back, you're still not going to have a good television show. It feels like a bandage on something that needs to be taped up.
I think that they have the right pieces. It's just how to put them in the right spots.
I don't think they have the right pieces. I think they have really good pieces like a Pretty Deadly, like a Julius Creed, like a Carmelo Hayes, like a Braun Breaker, like a Toxic Attraction, like an Elena Black, Grimes. But beyond that, a lot of the supplemental pieces that you have to fill your roster with, for every Adrian Neville in the original Black and Gold, there was a Bull Dempsey. Is that a fair statement? Somebody entertaining in the undercard to get you through until you got to Adrian
Briggs
Neville.
and Jensen right there. You literally they're entertaining to me for when they go that Smash Mouth Ruth on their stuff. But I know a lot of people don't like that. But that's
Enzo Amore, who could cut a better promo than anybody on NXT 2.0 right now.
No, that's fact. But
they don't have the same pieces. They don't have similar pieces. The women's division was a crucial piece of Black and Gold. They didn't even.
They were the mainstay in Black and Gold.
They didn't even push Becky Lynch in NXT because they were so busy pushing other really good female talent. And Becky Lynch became the biggest female star in WWE history. Like, that's how competitive the Black and Gold female division was. And in this division, you have Bea Priestley, who's really good. You have Roxanne Perez, who's really good. You have Elena Black, who's really good. I can't think of it. I can think of Roxy, but I can't think of the other two names. But other than that, from there, who do you have? Because Toxic Attraction's probably going up soon. So Fallon Henley's not good. Paxton Huxley's not good. Lash Legend is not good. They don't have supplemental pieces for these divisions. The tag division is very top heavy with the Creed brothers. Explosive, there's a lot to work with there. Pretty Deadly are fantastic. Great characters, very different workers. You had something in Grizzled Young Vets, but you butchered them. Beyond that, there's not many good tag teams in NXT right now. Like, that was a mainstay of Black and Gold too for American Alpha, Vaudevillains, FTR, all in one time.
No. And right now you have three pretty good tags right there in NXT as of right now. You even said it, the Creeds, Pretty Deadly. Gallus is one that you could use as something. An undercard version is Briggs and Jensen as a tag.
But you can change they would kind of fit that Blake and Murphy role. But you can change the logo and the color scheme back, make us change our overlays, which I really don't feel like doing. Although this overlay does kind of hurt my eyes, so maybe that's a good thing. Uh, but at the end of the day, that doesn't give the heart of what black and gold was and what it symbolized. So for me, it's not that big of a change. Uh, it feels like an empty action.
At the end of the day, NXT will always be NXT. Black Gold version, 2.0 version, 5.4, whatever. But to me, seeing as much as I have through the Black and Gold into the current year of this, the pieces are there. They're there, but not not in the right spots. Breaker is the top one, and then you have Hayes right underneath him. Gacy is in the middle, and you have Grimes who fluctuates between both, which is great. You need somebody to go up and down when needed. And then underneath them, they have people they're working on to get up there, and that's what the Black and Gold did. Also, it replenished the underwear while swelling it up to get them up higher and higher. The tag division, you have 3 really good tags. 2 of them came over from the
Who
UK.
the tag division needs to push? And I'm down this so. Malik Blade and my boy Idrissa Nofe.
I was gonna say Nofe and everything is right there. They're trying to surface all that and circle them up.
Dude,
I mean, the
women, great. Like he's awesome. Push Idrissa Nofe.
The women's division literally has a lot of depth in there just by itself. But if you take Mandy out of the equation, you still have maybe 2 or 3 viable people to take that spot. And Kylie Ray with the experience. Yeah, but Kylie Ray with the experience she had, hell, you also still have the final boss under your umbrella.
Wrestler.
Well, you know what I mean. Elba Fire. You have her as like the longest reigning UK champion. You could have her as the NXT champion if they bring Mandy up. That holds that spot. And also you have Miko still whirling around in there.
We don't know that though.
Yeah, well, I'm saying as of right now. But the thing is that you have people moving up underneath. Like Wendy Chu went up too early. Now she's holding the mid card section of it. You know, there's Lash Legend a little bit down there. There's a lot of lower
character.
There's a lot of low end talent that's circulating to work their way up. I mean, it's just time. It's just time. 2.0 has been a year old, and now it's like, what's next? And everybody wants instant gratification. Hell, I'm one of those people, but I want something to make sense so that way it grips me. You had 3 weeks worth of shows that were literally bangers. You had good shows the way it connected. Hell, you have Bate and McDonough for the #1 contendership for the NXT. Give me that. Give me Bate and Breaker at a show. Let's do it again and make it like let them go and get up there. I mean,
so we just talked
you got people on there.
We just talked about all this great talent, and we're getting to Hank Walker.
I love that. I think he's awesome.
Basic name I've ever heard in my life. Versus Javier Bernal. And a really iffy match.
I just like the fact that they were trying to be like down security.
I like that it was different. I like that it was different. I like that the introduction was, hey, our security is some of our prospects. And why wouldn't a prospect who can beat up wrestlers want a chance to prove it? I just didn't think it was executed well. I had no desire to watch this match. Hank Walker.
I thought it was
remote personality.
I thought it was a fun match. I mean, it was a 3 or 4 minute match. I thought it was kind of fun. I mean, think about it. How many times you were in a certain spot working for somebody and you wanted to nail it and just do what Walker did. I mean, it was all in all, it was a fun match. It got Walker on a start foot, but the main points on this, sorry, I got my allergies kicking, that I thought was funny was Vic. Vic Joseph in this was pure fun to listen to, just because he was ragging hard on Wade and saying like Wade saying that, oh, he's a security guard, he's in training and all this stuff, he shouldn't go after this, he's not ready yet. And Vic turns to him and says, well, weren't you a security guard at one point? I don't know what you're talking about, Wade says. I don't know. Well, fella, weren't you a security guard in 05 with DX going around Rickshaw? And he's like, okay, fine, I was. And I'm like, oh my God, they're calling back on a lot of this stuff because he was. And it was so funny to me because it's like, a lot of times on these shows, they don't repeat the history and rag and dig on these guys. And look what happened. They let freaking Wade Barrett get digged on hardcore and having basically a small shout out for Jameus. It was so good Vic was doing.
Jameus is killing it right now. I'm happy my boy's getting this run. But that's a different podcast for a different day. You heard me talk about that with Patrick on the Clash at the Castle Pro show, which you can find in the Body Slam archives. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube so you never miss a show, because who knows where these faces will pop up.
Exactly.
Anyway, if you don't want to look at my ugly teeth, I'll stop smiling. So the main event, and I'm going to stop smiling with this because I do not like the booking decision. The match is really good. Carmelo Hayes does not miss. Carmelo Hayes is one of the top 10 wrestlers belt to belt in the world today. So shout out to Carmelo Hayes. But I'm going to let you go first because I have a pretty decent idea of how you're going to pontificate on this. I think we're going to disagree. So what were your thoughts on the Solo Sikoa?
I think the setup to this, like the fans voted Wesley. Come on, man, that was a great thing. But they went with the same formula they do all the time. They give the fans what they want. They take away with it and put somebody else into it. Now, not being said, Hayes was basically saying there's nobody else, and then that Solo Sikoa, which I have a gripe about all of that and stuff.
The match is great.
No, I'm talking about the whole thing. The whole thing with Solo Sikoa that has my gripe is this. You made this character wanting to be separated from his family, but yet at Clash at the Castle, they didn't have it.
You can't go. You can't insert somebody in this blood storyline that's, at least to me, has already overstayed its welcome and has long since been contrived and overbooked. You can't have a single member in that group without a title even a week. So he's a bad guy on Sunday when he cost Drew Galloway the title, and he's a bad guy on Friday when he's with Sami Zayn and the Usos. But he's a good guy because it's Carmelo Hayes. And then he's champion, and we're not even, I assume at least, going to have the belt on the NXT anymore, so that Solo Sikoa has a prop before they even establish him on the main roster.
I feel like
makes no sense. I feel like they took the belt off of Hayes with no purpose when they could have done so much more with it. Though I do like that they revisited Solo Sikoa constantly saying he's got next, and then they never did anything with it. So at least they went back to that. I appreciate the attention to detail. The match is fun. I don't agree with the booking decision. I don't get it.
I think that Solo Sikoa being the champion for the NXT product is a great thing because they did the same thing in the past. They've done this with Kevin. They've done it with certain other talents here and there. Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense to bring, if you're going to have Solo Sikoa on the main roster off and on, why not elevate the NXT North American Championship? To me, is one of the top 3 mid-card prestige titles that are out there. And the thing is that if you're going to bring that up and make Sikoa, well, I watch this all the time. So, I mean, and the thing about it is that, like, for me, it's always going to be the same 3 in order. It's going to be the Intercontinental, the United States, and then the North American in this general vicinity in this company. It's going to always be like that.
Oh, in this company, I agree. And in WWE, I agree. Not in the industry in general, but in WWE.
But for me, I think it's just with this, it's going to make as much as Lashley's putting the work into the United States Championship, I think with especially Sikoa having the North American Championship on Friday nights and on Tuesday nights, I think even though he'll be standing there doing double duty or going at it, you could have him defend the North American Championship with the legs against Ricochet, or you could have him go against somebody that's not wants to go in between back and forth like he does. It gives them flexibility a little bit, but it also puts more views on there.
You know what they might do? Sami Zayn, when he turns face, is going to be 1 championship away from NXT Grand Slam. I think,
That's
right?
True. Yep.
He won the tag belts, right?
I believe so.
I feel like he did. Hold on. No, he never won the tag belts. Never mind. I don't know why I thought he did. Maybe I'm thinking of Neville or Pac.
I mean, even with this, I think it's going to elevate the North American Championship. But, and I've said this multiple times, and I've said this before a lot of times, like I keep stating, it's time to get the belt, North American Championship away from Hayes and let him actually go after the NXT title. If you're going to pull the trigger at Survivor Series as Breaker, as one of the members on one of those matches in a traditional Survivor Series, it's time to pull that trigger to raise him up to the main roster, to pull the Daniel Bryan wool out of the hat and let him go and give Hayes the NXT title and then elevate everybody else around him. Hayes is the one person on that roster that you put somebody in front of him, he elevates everybody around him. And it's very rare. It's very few people that can do that.
We agree on that. Do you have much else up to say?
Other than that, I mean, it was very physical, very grit. Both of them were going to bring it.
Because it's 10:55 on the East Coast, and
at the end of the day, they made the right. At the end of the day, they made the right move, and I can't wait to see what they do next with this. And a lot of this stuff that it looks like they're starting to build up. As much as this show was a thud this week, I'm hoping it rebounds next week, and it seems like we're getting the setup for that.
Where can the good folks find you? Throwback 978. I just said his app form.
Every Thursday night we do Wicked Crazy Pinfalls. We try to. We had a fun night last week. We actually digged on Anakin JMT a lot, which is very rare because he has been gone in a couple of months. So we had cameos from Sean Ross.
You know how I know it's false advertising? Because I'm the craziest person you know.
We were holding cameos from Sean and on to Anakin, and we finally got to play them, and it was great. Other than that, every Tuesday night here, we come here, break down NXT for bodyslam.net, go to Slam Chats, donate, support the crew here, support everybody around here, the Roundtable Podcast, the ROH show, everybody. And then other than that, you might see me pop in on like,
I still don't even know what a Slam Chat is.
It's basically something different. But you might see me pop in on other places. I might end up on Roundtable right before I go back. You might end up doing something with Chris Parrish, or just have to keep an eye on the socials and stuff.
Tomorrow? Do we have Wrestle Watch tomorrow?
I think so, yeah.
What time? We'll
I,
discuss this after we stop
but
recording.
you're gonna see me. I just did just put out. They just put out this on Fightful Select. They put a retro review of me and your boy Rob Wilkins. Yep, one of
Shout
the
out to Rob
co-creators of Wicked
Wilkins.
Crave Pinfalls. Literally, we talked about NXT Brooklyn, the one show that changed it all. So I mean, I'll pop in here and there, and you'll see me, and you might get sick of this face. And I had one person in a conversation in chat saying they wanted to mute me. My opinions are mine and mine alone. So I mean, just have fun and enjoy it, and just throwback 978 on the Twitch and Twitter, and throwback27 youtube.com. We dropped 5 subscribers on that thing. I just checked it the other day, so we're at 230. So if try to push that up a bit and try to get affiliated. We're getting closer and closer, and anything that anybody can help with, it's great, because that whatever stuff we get will go back into the talent, and they'll be able to do more stuff what they want to do.
And ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at the Jameus. Very easy to remember. The Jameus. It's simply a preposition with my name after it. Pretty easy to remember. On Twitter, I do a lot of podcast stuff. And I have this every week. I have the bi-weekly TWM Talks Indies with Ash Nova and Queen of the Indies. I recently just yesterday broke down the GCW cards in England with T Insights Andy. You can find who joined us last week on the show. You can find that on all Body Slam platforms. Which reminds me, be sure to like, subscribe to YouTube channel. Support us with Sam Chats. I still don't know what that is. Buy our Pro Wrestling Tees merch so you can support lovely faces like this. And of course, follow me on Twitter so you can see all of my announcements, which I have a couple big upcoming announcements regarding upcoming projects, stuff I'm doing, or if you just want random thoughts that make me seem a little out there.
Also, before we go, shout out to Bad Blood for making on that 500 list. That
Yes,
was
sir.
awesome. So,
We love you, DJ. Congratulations, buddy. Do a good deed, pay it forward. I think I got that right. If not, I'm gonna throw it back to Patrick.
Yeah, I love you, Birdie. Love you, baby. Just live life to the fullest. Tomorrow's not given. Today's a gift, and just enjoy it.
And
Do a
shout
good
out
deed,
to
pay it forward.
Brody because he was wailing up a storm.
Yeah, pretty much.
That kid's got some lungs on him. And then
Yeah,
the
he
moment we
does.
started recording, we appreciate that. Have a good night, folks.